Okay, hello everybody. Mark Pinto with you from Phoenixville Public Library, and we're so grateful to Deborah Steeves of Legal Aid of Southeastern Pennsylvania for taking the time to be with you folks this morning to talk about this program that is a surprise or is a well-kept secret to people that expungement does exist. So with that, I'll just turn things over to Deborah. Thank you.
Thank you, Mark. As Mark said, my name is Deborah Steeves. I'm an attorney with Legal Aid of Southeastern Pennsylvania. Legal Aid provides free legal services to the suburban counties surrounding Philadelphia. There is a legal aid in every county in the state. Some of them are combined. So the 4 suburban counties are combined in what's called Southeastern Pennsylvania. If you have an issue in Philadelphia, you would call the Philadelphia Legal Aid. We generally call the legal aid in the county where your issue exists. And
Deborah, your volume is a little bit low.
Oh, let me see what I can do here.
Your mic, yeah.
Is that better?
Keep talking.
Okay. In addition to this program, we offer services in family law, domestic violence, housing, bankruptcy, consumer law, unemployment compensation, public benefits, Social Security, disability, dependency, and of course the expungements and elder law. Since this is being recorded, if you have a general question, as I'm finished up, you can unmute yourself and ask it. If you have a personal question, at the end, I'll give you my contact information and you can give me a call. So there's certain myths about expungement that probably aren't too important to you, but not every conviction or arrest can be expunged. The record isn't automatically expunged. However, since a couple of years ago, they are now automatically sealed if they're eligible. Sometimes you have to look and be aware of other databases other than the criminal database that needs to be addressed to get your case excluded. Like sometimes the newspaper archive might still have something in there, and there are ways of getting people to remove those. Some folks think if their case was dismissed or they were found not guilty that they shouldn't bother, but that's not the case. You should always clear your record when you can. Nonviolent felonies cannot be expunged. There are 3 ways of clearing your record that I will go through, and they're not all the same. There's expungements, there's sealings, and pardons. As in most things, things that are done in the court are based on statutory law that has been passed by the state representatives. And so there's a law concerning expungements, a law concerning what's called limited access or sealing, and then there's various codes on the petitions that you file. Some of this isn't too important. I give this lecture to attorneys to help them represent clients for us. The first thing you need to do is to look yourself up on what's called the UJS Portal. This is very important. Even if you've never been arrested, you want to look yourself up in case you've been the victim of identity theft. And that's something we also help people clear their record of if it, in fact, wasn't them that was arrested, but there they are. So the UJS Portal website is right there. Why that's important is because it's free and complete public access. So not only can you look yourself up, you can look up your friends, your relatives, your neighbors, your significant others. But that's certainly where employers will go to look because it is free. Once you've determined that that you have something that can be taken care of in the courthouse, you'll want to actually order your state police record. And that's this ePatch website. And you want to click on the one that says access and review. I think it costs about $22, $23 to order. And they're good for 60 days to get going on your petition after. So once you go to the UJS portal, this is what the website looks like. You go up here to case information and you click that and there'll be a drop down, which is then what comes up next that I already have here. Then here there's another drop down. You want to search by participant name. Once you've typed in your name, this will come down. You'll type in the county, the last name, the first name. If you have a common name, you'll want to type in your birthday, so you're not looking at, 1,000 Jane Doe. Once you've done that and you hit the search, then down here is where the information gets gathered. And this is all information, not just criminal matters, but any civil matters. If you were in a car accident and got sued, or if you sued somebody, or you had a problem with a debt collection or a landlord tenant, all of that will come up down there. What you want to concentrate on is the criminal dockets. So they'll either have a CR or an NT. And those are the dockets that you then want to open one by one. If they have a civil docket or a TR for traffic, there's really nothing that can be done with those, so you don't need to look at them. So what can be expunged? And this is sort of the gold standard of getting everything erased from your record. Any convictions, any charges that didn't result in a conviction get expunged. So if your case was dismissed, withdrawn, you were found not guilty, it was null pros, you did what's called the ARD program or the Section 17 probation. At the end of those programs, they result in a non-conviction, and that's why then those charges can get expunged. What else can get expunged? Summary offenses, if you were convicted, and that's that NT non-traffic docket usually. As long as there haven't been, as 5 years have passed since the case was disposed of. So it doesn't have to be a 5-year running period from the time of the disposition, but any 5-year period thereafter. So say you were arrested in 2000, and then you were arrested again in 2004. Well, as long as obviously 2009 has come and gone, so both of those charges could then get expunged. Almost all juvenile records can get expunged. After receiving a pardon, that can get expunged. We'll go into the pardon process in a minute. If you're 70 years old and you haven't had been arrested for 10 years, so since the age of 60 or older, if you've waited past 70, everything on your record can get expunged. That helps seniors get into housing and special programs. If you've been dead for 3 years, your record can get expunged. There are certain exclusions. They're not that common, but sometimes there might be the occasion that an ARD was granted for a sex crime, indecent assault, if the victim was under 18, prostitution. Those cases are not eligible for expungement. They may, however, be eligible to be sealed. We'll get to sealing in a minute. So, moving past the gold standard of expungement, we come to pardons. And by the way, until the end of this month, there is a special fast track pardon program if you only have a marijuana conviction on your record. If that's the case, you want to talk to me after. Typically, pardons are for misdemeanors and felonies that can't get sealed or expunged. And you go, it's a process, there's a website. It used to involve a lot of fees and things to do, not so much anymore. They've made it pretty user-friendly. But it is a long process. It takes about 2 years. And the paperwork, the application online, has to be reviewed to make sure that you've answered everything and gotten the right kind of information from the courthouse. So it's a little bit complicated, but not such that most people can't get it done, especially with the help of either somebody, an attorney or a group that kind of supports people through the pardon process. They've been taking a couple of years to go through the system to get it granted. In the meantime, you want to get letters of support. You want to do some volunteer work in the community. The pardon board is mostly interested in the reason for the criminal behavior, be it mental health problems, drug problems, alcohol problems, and that behavior, that problem was addressed. You started getting therapy, you started taking medication, you went to rehab for alcohol and or drugs. And then ever since that time, your life has been turned around and you've had no more arrests. And now your record, of course, is preventing you from maybe taking part in housing or better employment or getting a license to do something like haircut folks or driving. So those are the most compelling cases in front of the Board of Pardons that then leads them to grant your pardon. And then it's not enough just to get a pardon. You bring that pardon certificate back and you fill out an expungement petition, and everything that was granted the pardon on now gets expunged. So then it does get completely removed. Otherwise, your record might just say, pardon, but it's still there. So it's not of much use until you get it completely expunged. The third program that started in 2018, you may have recognized it maybe as being called Clean Slate. But it's actually a limited access program, so it's record sealing. Most misdemeanor convictions can now get sealed, so you don't have to clog up the Board of Pardons with them after 10 years since the case was disposed of. Record sealing isn't quite the same as an expungement. That record still exists in a sort of secured vault, where only law enforcement, certain licensing agencies, and the judges have access to it. So for the most part, if you're just looking for a regular job where fingerprints aren't required, you can say that you've never been arrested, and that record won't show up on the state police record. If, however, you are looking for a kind of an FBI related job where you need to be fingerprinted, we're working on the FBI sealing records. It's not quite there yet. We're hoping by the first of the year that the FBI will start honoring the sealing orders, limited access, and so it won't show up anymore on the FBI record. In the meantime, the only way to get that completely cleared is of course, to go to the Board of Pardons. What can be sealed? As I indicated, generally most misdemeanors, as long as it's been 10 years, without any felony or misdemeanor convictions. So you can get arrested, unlike expungements. You just can't have a conviction. Summary offenses don't count. You can get those done. It used to be that fines and court costs had to be satisfied. They've dropped that now, that only restitution needs to be satisfied. But you do, in order to get an expungement, have to have paid your court costs and fines. For a sealing, you don't have to. There's some exclusions from misdemeanor ones, and we'll go over those. Almost all of the misdemeanors are eligible for sealing. The rest of the record has to be examined for some complex disqualifications or more time involved. So what are those exclusions? What are called Article B offenses. Those are crimes of violence, such as terroristic threat and stalking. Most of those are not misdemeanor ones. Occasionally there will be one. And sometimes the record has to be looked at because the grade of the misdemeanor hasn't been noted on the docket. So sometimes the case has to be ordered up and the actual court file has to be looked at to see if the grade is known. Article D offenses are crimes against the family, such as endangering the welfare of children. That comes up most often in a DUI situation. if you're trying to get a DUI sealed that you can't get expunged because it was a non-ARD case. If you had your children in the car and you were charged and convicted of also endangering the welfare of the child, then neither the DUI or anything on the record could get sealed. Firearms offenses can't get sealed, tiered sexual offenses, corruption of minors, and any attempts or conspiracy or solicitation to commit any of those crimes can't get sealed. What are some of the disqualifications that would prevent you from getting something sealed that could normally get sealed? If on your record you have a murder or any felony one or two or more possession with intent to distribute at any time, you're not going to be able to get anything sealed that would normally be able to be sealed. Instead of waiting 10 years, you have to wait 20 years if you've had 4 or more misdemeanor 2s or higher, or any felony involving the Article B or D offenses that we went over. You have to wait 15 years instead of 10 if you have 2 or more misdemeanor 1s or higher, and certain sexual offenses like the indecent exposure. Now, when I say 4 or more misdemeanor 2s or 2 or more misdemeanor 1s, that's not in the same arrest. So sometimes you can get arrested and you might have 2 or 3 misdemeanors that you plead guilty to or were arrested on. It takes 2 or more or 4 or more misdemeanors in different separate arrest period in order for you to have to wait longer to get things sealed. Never disqualifying or simply the fact that you got arrested without conviction, any number of summary offenses, even if you pled guilty to them, and any number of misdemeanor 3s. They don't add to the time frame. Right now in front of the State House, although we don't expect it to get addressed this year because they're not doing much, is a bill that if you have the ear of your state representative, you could call them and tell them that you endorse it. It adds some minor felonies to the ability to get sealed, and it reduces the sealing time from 10 years to 7 years. So it's it's a good bill to get passed. Now, the part about the clean slate was that the state police computer and the justice system computer have sort of a rolling review every day to see if anybody fits into a category where they don't have to file a petition any longer, that the computer is just going to automatically seal their record. And those are for misdemeanors 2s and 3s, summary offenses and non-convictions. So it makes it a little bit more cloudy because, as you recall, a summary offense or a non-conviction can actually get expunged, which is a bit better than sealing. So if you look at your record and remember that you had an ARD for something, but it's no longer there, chances are that it got clean slated. But it would be much better to go ahead and file an expungement petition, and it can be done even though you're not seeing it anymore on the record to get the information. But expungements can be done for cases that would qualify that have gotten automatically sealed. The misdemeanor 1s have to always have a petition filed on them. And this is the petition-based sealing. So some of the misdemeanors, require petitions, even if they weren't automatically sealed. That means that there's some kind of question mark, and a petition then needs to be filed to see if they can get sealed through petition. So as I indicated, folks can call our helpline to become clients. You know, somebody that might benefit from the program, and again, or anything that legal aid handles. Our requirement for the non-elderly is 125% of the poverty level. So basically, if you qualify for food stamps, you're going to qualify for our program. We do have separate grant programs, so it's always good to call. For example, folks over 55 might be into an elder law grant. Veterans are in a whole different category. The locations don't matter much because nobody's really open to the public. But you see the phone number there in the Chester County office. That's how you call me if you have a personal question to ask about if you should go ahead and open a file, or if you wouldn't qualify for our services. I can direct you how to find the forms to file a petition. We also talk to folks about, like, in the meantime, if you have a criminal record and time hasn't gone by enough to, either get it pardoned or sealed or expunged, we, talk to folks about how to make themselves a little bit more employable, even with their record. In this day and age, especially the minimum wage employers, they have kind of been looking at the criminal records to make sure that the person is fine and it's not in their area of law or what they're handling. So if you have a drug conviction, that's not gonna prevent you from working, say, at McDonald's, because they don't dispense pharmaceuticals. And also a lot of employers are just interested in the last 5 or 7 years. So if you have an old record, usually the question is, do you have anything in the last 7 years? And you can answer no. So that's just kind of another area that we try and help people out. At your local career links, there's special funding to help people find employment, and there's extra different funding to help people with criminal records find employment, because that's something that is critical in this time. So that's sort of how to clear your criminal record in a nutshell. But like I said, if there's any sort of general questions, you can feel free to unmute and ask it.
I can stop the recording, Deb, if
there's that too. So we can stop that recording.
I'll stop the recording right now.
Good.
All right, thank you. And